YouTube, what's going on? Howdy, welcome back to Roughneck81 Stream HQ. This is going to be my beginner's guide video. This is one that I've received a lot of requests from people. This is kind of just a little refresher course, you know, for people who haven't had a lot of time to play here recently or kind of getting started late in the game and they kind of want to jump into a match and they don't really kind of know what's going on. They feel a little intimidated. There's a lot going on around them, and this is going to help you kind of understand the mechanics of the game a little bit better so you can feel more confident when you're playing. Now, there's a lot to go over here, so I'm going to divide this video up into two parts. This first part is going to cover three main areas. The first one is how to create a loadout and why that's important. The second part is going to be talking about drop spots, where you want to land once you jump out of the plane in Verdansk. The third part is going to talk about buy stations and how those work. Part 2 is going to cover two main topics. The first topic is going to be contracts and the benefits of those and how they work throughout the game. The second part is going to be how to level up your guns in a more efficient way so you can have the best weapons available to play with. That video I hope to have up by later on tonight. Now remember, don't forget to subscribe to all the different channels that I've got going on now. I've got my Facebook group, Roughneck81 Stream HQ, my YouTube channel, all you have to do is search Roughneck81, my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Roughneck81, and I even have an Instagram now, Roughneck81. So this video is going to be kind of a long one, so let's go ahead and let's get started. Alright, so to begin our beginner's guide video, our first topic is going to be creating a loadout. We're going to go over the benefits of having a loadout, and there's two that are very important. The first one is essentially you're going to have better weapons than anything you're going to find as ground loot throughout all of Verdansk. Typically, a lot of the guns you find in Verdansk either don't have very many attachments on them, or they have very improper attachments on them. For example, an SMG with a 3x thermal scope on it. It's completely unnecessary and not very beneficial to you. Guns that you have fully leveled up and have the proper attachments on them that you place in your loadout are going to be far more beneficial to you than anything you can find laying around in Verdansk. The second benefit to having a loadout are the perks that come with it. Now these perks come in three tiers, blue, red, and yellow. Each of those tiers have many perks within them. Not all these perks are actually beneficial to you within Warzone. So I'm going to go over a few of the perks within each tier that I find beneficial to me, and I think they're going to find beneficial to you whenever you start playing. We're over the first tier, which is the blue tier. The two main perks within this tier are going to be double timed and EOD. What double time does, it doubles the amount of time that you can tactical sprint, and it makes you move a little faster when you're crouching. Essentially what this does, it allows you to move a little bit faster around the map. Some more aggressive players tend to like this perk. The second perk is EOD. EOD allows you to take less damage from things like grenades and C4s, things like that. This perk is really beneficial if you're, let's say, stuck in a house and someone's chunking a bunch of grenades and stuff at you. You're going to take less damage from those and allow you to stay in that fight longer. Me personally, I like to run EOD, but either perk could work for you. The second tier is probably the most important tier, the red tier. The two main perks you need to be running in this tier are Overkill and Ghost. What Overkill does is allow you to have two main weapons within your loadout, whether that be an AR and SMG, an LMG and an SMG, a sniper and an AR, whatever your choice of combination is. Overkill is going to allow you to run both of those guns at the same time. Ghost is the second perk. What Ghost does is it hides you from all heartbeat sensors and all UAVs within the match. Now there is a workaround to where you're able to utilize both of these perks within a match. The way you do this is you create one Overkill loadout, which is going to be your main loadout. Whatever guns you want to use within the match, that's the loadout that's going to be your Overkill. You will then create a second loadout, which essentially would have the same blue and the same yellow perk and the same grenades or whatever tactical device you wish to use along with it, but instead of the Overkill perk, you're going to replace that with Ghost. Now, as far as your weapons go, it really doesn't matter what you have on there. Because essentially the way it's going to work is when you're in a match, when you pick up your first loadout, whether you get that on the free drop or you purchase it through the buy stations, you're going to pick up your Overkill loadout with your first loadout. This is going to allow you to start the game off with both your main guns. Whenever you get to your second loadout, when you run over to pick it up, you're going to swap out to your Ghost loadout. Once you do that, all you have to do is then turn around and pick up the two guns that you just dropped that you had started the game with. Now, you're utilizing the Overkill perk, which lets you have your 2 main guns from the get-go, and you're now using Ghost, which is hiding you from all UAVs and heartbeats, which can be very beneficial to you. Finally, the third tier, the yellow tier perks. The 2 most important ones in here are going to be Amped and Tracker. Amped essentially just lets you swap between your weapons a little bit faster. I find this very beneficial in a gunfight when I'm shooting with one gun and I've ran out of ammo. Instead of taking the time to reload, I can just quickly swap to my second weapon and use that to continue fighting with. The second perk is going to be Tracker. What Tracker does is for a short distance behind an enemy, you're able to see a trail of red footprints following right behind them. This is very beneficial if you're, let's say, chasing an enemy down a hallway or into another room and you're not sure which way they turned. You'll be able to see their footprints and know which way they went. Either one of these perks can be very beneficial, and I recommend both. Me personally, I like to use Amped because I feel like I can switch between my weapons faster, especially if you're running a very large heavy weapon like a big sniper or an LMG. The switch out between that and your other gun is going to be a lot slower, so Amped is going to help you with that. The last aspect of loadouts I'd like to touch on is what kind of gun should you be using? For most players in Warzone, a typical loadout will include something like an AR or an SMG, an LMG and an SMG, a sniper and a short-range AR. Essentially, what most of these players are doing is they're following 2 main rules when they're picking their loadouts. One is they're covering their short, medium, and long distances. You want to be able to have guns that will be able to cover all 3 distances so you're not at a disadvantage at any time. So for example, if you're running an AR with a long-range scope and a sniper rifle, you're not going to have anything to be able to cover that short-range distance. In the same hand, if you're running an SMG and a shotgun, you have nothing to be able to cover a long-distance fight. So you want to be sure that you cover all 3 of those bases. The second, and probably the most important part, is you need to pick guns that you're comfortable with. You may hear somebody talking about a certain gun that's overpowered or it puts out a lot of damage, but that gun may have a really high recoil and very hard to control and very hard to aim. And it doesn't matter how much damage that gun does, if you're not able to shoot it and put bullets into somebody, you're going to lose those gunfights. So always fall back on guns that you definitely feel the most comfortable using. As far as guns that I would recommend using, that's something we're going to go over in a later video. The second major aspect of our beginner's video here is going to be drop spots. Now by drop spots, I mean where you choose to jump out of that plane and start getting into the fight in Verdansk. One thing I want to make very clear is there are 2 very distinct different kinds of drops. Your hot drops and your cold drops. Your hot drops are typically going to be places that have a lot of people and there's going to be some fighting the instant you hit the ground. The hot drops are typically places located close to the line from where the plane is flying, have a lot of contracts, and are relatively inside the circle. There are certain specific spots on the map that are kind of always hot drops. Some examples are Superstore, Airport, Boneyard, and Train Station. If you're still trying to get the hang of the game, it's probably best to avoid dropping right into these kind of spots from the get-go and maybe go somewhere more on the outskirts and kind of work your way in. Unless you're just feeling brave and you want to jump on in and give it a shot. Now, it's never a bad thing to drop outside the circle and kind of put some distance from where the hot spots might be. But one important thing you have to always remember is make sure you have a plan for getting back into the circle quick enough before the first wall closes in on you. For example, if you happen to drop and grab a helicopter, fly that out somewhere, make sure you have that so you can fly it back out in case you don't think you can make it back on foot. It's very easy to drop outside the circle, start getting your loot, get a bunch of money, all of a sudden you get caught up in a gunfight, you look up and the wall's coming and pushing you. That's a quick and easy way to die and a very cruddy way to end a match. Now the third aspect we're going to go over here in our beginners video is what a buy station is, or a loadout station some people call it, and why you need to use one. First off, buy stations are going to be the locations on the map that are marked by what looks like a little shopping cart. And you'll find them and they appear to be just kind of a flat rectangular box sitting on the ground that once activated will kind of open up and you'll be able to then use it to purchase different items. This is basically the whole reason that you're earning money throughout the entire game. When you go to these buy stations, there's a lot of different perks that you can buy that can essentially help you throughout the rest of the match. There's 2 different kinds of things you can buy: kill streaks and perk items. An example of kill streaks are UAVs, airstrikes, cluster strikes, things like that. An example of a perk item would be a gas mask, armor box, an ammo box, things like that. Now looking at kill streaks, the first one we'll look at is UAVs. Simply a UAV, all it is once you purchase it, you activate it. Once you activate it, within a certain radius around you on your minimap, you can see and locate any enemy players that are around you that are not ghosted. Now, if you were to purchase 3 UAVs and pop all three at the exact same time, you'll activate what's called an advanced UAV. What this will do, this will show every single player on the entire map for a short amount of time who is not ghosted and exactly where they're at. The other two kill streaks are airstrikes and clusters. These both essentially do the same thing. What you'll do is you'll purchase them, and if you see an enemy team, you'll activate the perk, mark them with a pair of binoculars that your character will pull up, and it'll send down either an airstrike or a bombing raid on them. The difference between the two is an airstrike, while it covers a smaller area, it's a lot more direct fire. So typically it tends to be a little more accurate. The cluster strike has a wider spread, but it also will last longer. So if you're trying to escape from a team that's like hunting you down possibly, throwing a cluster strike on them will give you a little more time to run away. Now the perk items, the first one we'll go over is the ammo box. Essentially all this is once you purchase it and you throw it down on the ground, you and all your teammates can walk up to and activate this box to reload all of your guns to full ammo. The second perk item you can get is an armor box. This works the same way. If you're low on armor plates, this will refill your armor plates to full. Now one thing to note when you're doing this, if you only have 2 of the 3 armor plate slots on your body full at the time you activate this, it'll give you the 5 extra plates that you can normally carry, but it will not fill up that 3rd slot. So whenever you go to use this box, be sure you're already full with 3 plates before you activate it. Otherwise, you'll be missing out on a plate that you could have had. Another important perk item is a gas mask. The gas mask will help keep you alive for a short amount of time if you accidentally get caught within this gas storm. Be careful about using this item. When you go in and out of the storm, there will be an animation of your character pulling on and pulling off the gas mask. Unfortunately, I've died plenty of times trying to shoot somebody while going in and out of the gas, and while I'm shooting them, my character will pull up or pull down their gas mask, not allowing me to aim down sights and shoot my enemy, and I end up getting killed. Lastly, on buyback stations, 2 more quick items that you can also purchase from here are going to be your self-revives, or selfies, as some people call them, and the ability to buy a teammate back if they've got killed in battle. Self-revives can be critical, but it's important to note you don't want to self-prioritize these over possibly buying your team a UAV and being able to locate an enemy team that may be trying to hunt y'all down. Don't be that guy that gets enough money to buy a perk and immediately runs over and buys his self-revive first. Nobody likes that guy. However, once your team builds up enough cash and y'all feel comfortable enough with where you're positioned, then you should go ahead and prioritize getting a self-revive. This can be critical when you're flanking an enemy team away from your own teammates and you get downed. You can then get to cover and self-revive yourself instead of forcing one of your teammates to cross over the battlefield to try and get you back up, because then it could cost both them and you in terms of losing that fight. And the teammate buybacks are pretty self-explanatory. We've covered basic ways to bring teammates back into the game through contracts, such as the supply runs and the king contracts. However, the most common way to buy someone back is to simply go to a buy station and spend the money there. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for the conclusion of part 1 of the beginner's guide. I hope that was pretty helpful. Like I said, part 2, I'm hoping to get out later on tonight. We'll see how that goes. This editing stuff, like I said, I'm still kind of learning about it, and it's taking a little longer. After I get part 2 out, my next video series I'm working on, which I'm sure some of y'all would like to see as well, is actually what guns to be using. What types of ARs, LMGs, SMGs, what do people say are the best guns out there? I'm going to be putting out a video about that, kind of going over the different stats and stuff of some of the ARs and snipers, and kind of let you make a decision from there. I'll recommend a few, but like I said in an earlier part of this video, it's going to be what you're most comfortable with. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Like I was saying before, make sure to check out the Facebook group, Twitter, Instagram now, and YouTube. All of your likes, shares, subscriptions are huge, huge help to my channel. Just getting the word out there about my channel, sharing it on Facebook or any kind of social media, it's a big help. It's going to help kind of promote me and help get my name out there. So once again, guys, thanks. Appreciate it. Hope you have a good day. Peace out.